Welcome back as we continue our coverage of yesterday's debate on the first reading of the Appropriation Bill in Parliament. Mrs. Lumka Yengeni of the ANC said the increasing trends of unlawful and wasteful expenditure by state departments were noted, as well as its negative effects on the delivery of services. But then she turned her focus to the DA-run province of the Western Cape, where she said racism was growing at an alarming rate.
The government of the DA in the Western Cape is busy promoting and retrenching the culture and politics of divide and rule. They are busy turning the wheel backwards, eroding all the gains of our struggle for freedom and justice. How else do you explain the racist outburst of the Premier of this province, Helen Zille, calling black South Africans in this province refugees? And no one condemns those.
I remember, hold on, there is a point of order.
The speaker is deliberately misquoting the Premier of the Western Cape. She never ever called black people refugees. She spoke about refugees.
Remember, that's not a point of order.
That's not a point of order.
Continue, remember.
And no one condemned those potently racist comments, including the Honorable DA parliamentary leader, Ms. Lindiwe Mazibuko. Ms. Mazibuko's courage to stand up for her own people failed her at a crucial moment. We all shudder to think, what will the DA's future be in the hands of Honorable Mazibuko? This insult directed at all black people of this province must be rejected with the contempt it deserves.
In his closing remarks, Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan shared some sobering thoughts with members. He said this was indeed a dangerous time as South Africa was bracing itself against the economic trends that were unfolding in Europe.
We might choose to play political football with these issues, but let me appeal that there must be some space created somewhere for us on a non-partisan basis to understand these challenges and begin to act in the national interest outside of the political battles that we want to fight. And so in the South African context, we must continually ask, as the Appropriations Committee has asked, what are our priorities? Are we spending money on those priorities? Are we spending that money effectively? Are we in the public sector, as the Public Service Commission asks, having a management cadre that both understands those priorities and has the capabilities to deliver and use the trillion rands that we speak of as effectively as they should? In the budget, we said very clearly, Mr. Speaker, that we want to change the composition of spending in South Africa. We've started that process, but there's a long way to go. Investment in infrastructure and in other capital projects still doesn't get as much money as it requires, and even where we do have that money, regrettably, we don't spend it as effectively as we should.
Mr. Gordhan said the key test, however, was whether the money being spent was changing the lives of people for the better.
I would certainly support all of you who indicate that we need to hold departments and officials to account on a much more rigorous basis than we do, that we need to stop fiscal dumping and senseless spending just because we want to show that we've got 100% spending taking place. And there's an interesting shift that has happened over the last year or two, which is where we used to focus on the quantum of spending. We need to start asking questions about the quality of spending and what it is that we are actually achieving. And all of us, again, regardless of our interests, need to ask some tougher questions about ourselves, particularly in an economic context where there could be further negative impacts on revenue collection in the coming year if Europe doesn't.
Join us again tomorrow for another live broadcast from Parliament. Until then, goodbye.